right. We're rocking and rolling on YouTube, you guys. And again, welcome to day 18 of the 30-day gratitude challenge. I am Abalori, and today we are coming from Philippians 2:14 through 15. And it basically talks about guarding our hearts against a complaining spirit. And it says, do everything without a grumbling or arguing, so that you may become blameless and upright. And again, when I'm doing my Bible studies and I want to get a deeper understanding of whatever scripture or passage I'm reading, I usually go to Enduring Word. But this was simple enough today, but I still wanted to go in and do my research and see what it says. And there was two theories, two schools of thought. It was basically saying that the people during that time were arguing and complaining because of the situation that they found themselves in. And then the other one was just basically referring to their attitude towards God. And so I was like, that's kind of interesting, because the way that I always took this passage, I never thought about it being the attitude towards God. I always thought it was just us saying, the passage is saying we're having a complaining spirit. We're complaining and griping and grumbling and just moaning for whatever is going on in our lives. But as I was doing a deeper dive, it was like this can be looked at into different ways. But today I'm just going to look at it coming from the point of us complaining about the things that we caused in our lives. Some of us are in transition of budgeting, becoming debt free, savings, investing, wherever you are in your financial journey is definitely can be challenging, depending upon where you started from and where you're intending to go. Now, specifically for me, I do have investments, 401ks, excuse me, savings, things like that. But however, I can't contribute to those the way that I want to contribute to those, because I am getting out of debt. And so that is definitely something I griped and complained about prior to me doing this 30-day challenge. Especially for me being a person who just went through a divorce and pretty much being left with the bulk of the debt, taking care of two kids, just kind of the run of the mill things that when you and a person separate, the person, of course, that is the less, who doesn't really care about the finances versus the person who cares about the finances. Typically the person who cares about the finances or their credit or just how they're going to be overall in general in terms of financial wellness, it's probably more than likely going to be the person that's going to be the one that's going to be paying the debts, settling the debts, things like that. It is just because people like me, we take our credit seriously, we take our budgeting journey seriously, and so we're left with, as I say, holding the bag. And it's not always fun. It's not always pretty. It's not always ideal in most situations. And so I remember I was doing a lot of complaining at the end. I was doing a lot of griping and grumbling in the beginning, because I felt like certain things that I was left to pay for, I shouldn't have to pay for. Like some things were 50-50. Why is it that I am getting stuck paying for everything, and this feels like this person has essentially gotten away scot-free? But however, I had to reshift my mind and reshift my focus to be like, hey, focus on you. Don't focus on the other person. And so with that being said, it was hard to shift from griping and grumbling to actually being thankful that I do have the means, the opportunity to pay off my debts. Now, true indeed, I could have taken monies out of my 401k and paid all of my debts, but I wasn't really willing to take that type of money out of me, because that is for future, for me to live off of, for me to retire off of. And so I chose to just do it the regular way by means of, working, budgeting, and just paying off things, strategically coming up with a process to paying off things. And where I started complaining about having been left to pay off everything, I slowly realized that even before I started this gratitude challenge, things were shifting in a more of a thankful attitude, because I was able to pay off debts. I was able to go ahead and knock out the bulk of my debt just by, working, putting money to, you just kind of, I'm a nurse, you guys, by trade. So of course, everyone knows nurses make a pretty decent salary. And it's nothing for us to go and pick up extra shifts at work to make X amount of money to be able to do this and that. In fact, that's how most nurses typically will pay off debt, buy things. They'll strategically pick up extra shifts and calculate how many shifts they have to work to pay for this particular thing, whether it's paying off debt, whatever it is, whether they want to take a trip. So they calculate, I need to work X amount of shifts to be able to pay for this trip out in full and not have to put it on a credit card. I'm just using those as examples. That's typically how most of us work. And because we know how we get paid, when we get paid, it's easy now for us to go work an 8-hour shift and then get paid right after our 8-hour shift. And that's how most nurses are able to get out of debt, pay on things. If you ever want to know why some nurses live the way they do, it is exactly because of that, because of the way that we are structured and paid. And so for me, one of the things that I do own my own private duty business. I do have another business, but then I also work at the hospital as needed. And so when I sat down and I started strategically figuring out my finances, one of the things I said was, let me go pick up some extra shifts working in the hospital. That allowed me to pay off the bulk of my debts just by doing that. But however, in the midst of me seeing that I was able to work and pay off my debts very quickly, I started moving from complaining to being more thankful. It did not do me any good to complain about my ex who did not pay his fair share of much of anything towards that later end of our relationship. It did not do me any good to complain about the things that he was supposed to pay that he didn't pay. It did not do me any good to continuously want to hold somebody responsible and gripe and complain about them being responsible when in hindsight, they just are not responsible. And so with that being said, I had to realize complaining and shifting was not going to do anything for me. And it definitely was not going to pay these bills. I was not going to be able to pay bills because bills were not going to get paid because I was complaining and I was griping. And so I started shifting towards, let me start just being more thankful that I am in a position, I am in a career that affords me the opportunity to be able to pay my debts off. And even if you are not in the healthcare field or a lucrative field that allows you to pay debts off very quickly, even still be thankful for if you can only pay what you can pay for on a debt. Yes, again, griping and moan, it is a part of our character. It is a part of our life. Everything is not going to always work out in our favor. It is not going to always be financially favorable for us in a lot of situations. But however, sometimes we just have to honestly sit back and say, hey, I put myself in this predicament. So again, me complaining is not going to do any good because I chose to use the credit cards. I chose to get the car loan. I chose to loan X amount of dollars out, or I chose to do this. So it does not do us any good griping and complaining about the decisions that we made. And so again, when we're looking at Philippians, we're looking at Philippians 2:14. It says, do all things without complaining and disputing. That means no matter what we do, there's no point in us complaining and disputing about it. There's no point in us griping about it, because half the time when we're griping about the things that's going on in our lives, the outcomes have already happened. Let's be real. 99.9% of the time, us griping and complaining, the outcomes have already happened. And more oftentimes than not, it's not going to change. So why are we arguing and griping? And I know you're like, Avalori, that's not realistic. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But also the Bible says if you have to go to your brother or your sister and you need to talk about these things, go ahead and do it. If you are a person and your sister or your brother needs a shoulder to cry on, and they're in something, we are compelled to listen to them, and same as they should be compelled to listen to us. But again, we can go to them, we can gripe, we complain, we can do it all, but once we do those things, we're still in the same situation. It does feel good to get it off our chest. It does feel good to let it out into the atmosphere. It does feel good to just cry and get it over with and release it. It does wonders for our soul. It does wonders for our mental health and wellness. But however, we can't stay stuck in a complaining mode. When we stay stuck in a complaining mode, it hinders us from seeing the it hinders us from seeing the goodness that God has already been blessed, that has already blessed us with. And it's also going to prevent us from seeing what he is currently blessing us with now. You don't know what God is working out behind the scenes while you're griping and moaning and you're complaining. We don't know what God is doing behind the scenes while we are fussing with these credit card companies, or we're fussing with the person who was supposed to pay the bill and they didn't, or somebody came up short and didn't have their half of whatever you needed to pay. It does us no good, because half the time, more often times than not, the outcomes have already been determined. Now, does that mean that it always is the outcome? No, outcomes can change as well. But how often do they change? How often can you go back and change an outcome? Most oftentimes you cannot. You cannot. You can only pray going forward that somewhere down the line things will manifest differently, or if there's an off chance that someone will come back and say, hey, we took a look at this and we decided XYZ, and it comes back in your favor. Sometimes that does happen. But again, a lot of times, you guys, when we're arguing and complaining about something, it's because something has already happened. It's already happened, and it's probably not going to change. So the Bible is saying, just do all things without complaining and disputing, without being quarrelsome, without being argumentative. And yes, sometimes it does feel good to be argumentative. Sometimes it does feel good to go and lash and get your point across for whatever the situation is. It absolutely feels good. But then once we get it all out, we're still in that same situation. We're still stuck in that same financial situation that we found ourselves in. And so I say to you today that if you find yourself in a spirit of grumbling, griping, complaining, do yourself a favor. There's two ways you can look at this. If you've been offended by somebody, you can go to the offender and say, hey, you did this and this. It's up to them to listen to you, or it's up to them to decide to brush you off, and they're going to go on about their day. So sometimes you have to examine, is it worth going to the offender if they're willing to listen? If not, you might have to let it go. Then if you do go to the offender and they decide you're the problem, you're it, they're not willing to listen to what you have to say, you've brought the issue to them and they're still flipping the script and making you be the bad person despite how you feel, chances are you need to let it go. That person is not trying to hear what you have to say. It could be because that's just how they are as a person, that they're just not willing to compromise. They don't want to hear it. You're at fault. You're the problem. Even if they caused it, even if they were the one who did the thing, they're not going to accept the blame. They're not going to accept accountability. You got to let it go. It's not going to do you any good battling with somebody who's not going to accept accountability for their actions. The other part is, again, own up to when you've played the part in your whatever financial decisions that you have decided to play the part in. So we can't be mad. We can't throw 100% of the blame on whatever the situation is, because 9 times out of 10, we've had a part in it. Now, again, there are some things that are beyond our control. I'm not talking about those things. But when we go out and we get these purchases and swipe our credit cards and things like that, but then we get mad at the creditor because he don't want to extend our payments or adjust whatever, we get offended by it, we get mad by it. No, we put ourselves in that predicament. And so again, today I'm encouraging you, if you are a person and you're finding yourself with a complaining spirit, a disgruntled heart, something isn't working out in your favor as it pertains to finances or just everyday life in general, it's two things you could do: address it and let it go, or just let it go all together. I know personally for me going to my ex-husband saying, hey, can you own up and pay your fair share? It's not going to happen. I've let it go. I've let that thing go months ago, almost a year ago. It serves me no purpose. As I stated, when and talking about getting out of my finances, I don't wish no ill will, no on harm. I just know specifically that this person will not get a fair financial handout from me again in life. That's just how I have, maybe God will soften my heart, but I don't think that at this stage in my life, being as wise as I am to my finances, that I'll go back down that road. But however, I do forgive, I'm not going to dwell on it. And that's why when I was studying this specific passage, I can't talk today, you guys, this specific passage, and it says, do it without griping and complaining. That's exactly what I plan to do. Continue to do it without griping and complaining, because it's not going to change the outcome. We're already divorced. Things are already long gone. It's not going to change. And so I implore you today, when it comes to your finances, you could gripe about your finances, but then you also got to examine, what part did you play in this? What part did you play in mismanaging your money, loaning money out to people that were poor money managers, but you did it? What part do you play when you go to call your creditor and they don't want to work things out in your favor? You signed up to be part of them, so you can't be upset. So we have to examine the issue. So again, when we're talking about this specific passage and it applies to us and our attitudes towards our finances, we can't get mad at God. God gives us free will. He tells us in the Bible, I give you free will to make your own choices. He doesn't hold our hand. He doesn't threaten us to make certain choices. He gives us free will. But then he also warns us, do not be a slave to money. Do not be a slave in terms of being the borrower. Like, don't mismanage your money. Like, he gives us a whole biblical principle upon our finances that a lot of us either were not taught, or as we got older, we still continue to overlook, even though we knew better. So again, when it comes to our finances, griping and grumbling is not going to work. It's not going to pay these bills. It's not going to make us happy. It may just give us a little bit of a smidget of comfort once we're done griping and getting it all out on the table. But again, we still have to tackle our finances. So with that being said, you guys, that is it for today. I'm just going to leave you with a couple questions. And this is, how does complaining about your finances affect your heart? We already know it's going to make us be negative. If we think negative, we're going to feel negative. We're going to be negative. The second question is, what can you do today to stop the grumbling and start giving thanks? Again, I talked about this. You can either, if someone did something to you that's making you grumble in terms of your finances, they owed you money that you're not going to get back, either address it or let it go. Sometimes it's just better to let it go, because you already know what you're dealing with. It's just better to let it go. As my mom used to say, out of sight, out of mind. And the third thing is, just give thanks. If you are a person and you are in this financial journey, you're paying off debt, you're able to get some leeway. Again, personally for me, I don't think I've ever discussed it, but I'll probably do a live or YouTube video. But I utilize what's called the snowball method. That works best for me, because I'm a person, I like to see results. If I don't see results, it does not feel like my work is working. It does not feel like the things that I'm doing is working. As a nurse who used to work in a hospital for 16 years, I've been a nurse since 2000. It's one of the things in the hospitals, we like to see the outcomes of what's going on with our patients. Where did we stop the temperature from getting higher? Did we control the pain? Are my numbers coming down when I'm looking at the monitors in the ICU? Like, is there certain parameters that I'm meeting? I'm a person, I like to tangibly see my results. And when it comes to me budgeting and paying off debt, I don't work backwards. I don't pay down to the smallest debt. I pay upwards because I feel like once I start paying and I get the momentum, I see what's going on. I'm able to knock out this bill, this bill, this. It makes me feel like, yes, you're doing it. You can do it. Keep on going. I'm tangibly seeing what I tangibly see my efforts. If I work the other way, I'm not going to see my efforts. Let's be real. I have a mortgage. I'm not going to see the efforts of that thing for the next couple of years. So I don't work backwards. Like, if I focused on that, I don't think that would be good for my mental, because I'm not seeing the result. Yes, I could look at my mortgage statement and see it coming down, but to me, it's not still making a dent that I would like to see. So I work backwards. And so for me, I do the snowball method, and that has been working for me. But that's how I've been giving thanks. It's just that I've been making sizable dents into my debt payments, that I just give thanks to God for whatever I'm allowed to pay on my credit cards, whether it's $50 this week, $200, just whatever it is. I'm just saying thank you instead of grumbling and moaning, because I know eventually all of it's going to be paid off. And so today, one of the things that I'm encouraging you to do is to make a conscious effort and just stop complaining about your finances today. When you go to sit down and you do your bills this week. Now, we all know Thanksgiving is in 2 days. Most of us have spent money at the grocery store. We already know this time of year, two things is going to happen. You're either going to budget and budget wisely and not overspend, or you're going to overspend. Like, there's just no way around it. Or you're not going to spend at all. Just unless you don't partake in Christmas, 9 times out of 10, most people who don't believe in Christmas or who were raised to not celebrate it probably don't care. They're not going to go overboard. But for some of us who still utilize and practice, the spirit of Christmas, we have to make a conscious decision. Either we're going to spend what we already spent and we're not going to spend any more, or we are just going to keep everything under budget. Because again, these are our pockets. Everything that I told somebody the other day, I said, when you're making a budget, when you overspend, you're not going to get that back. The gifts that you're overspending for, 9 times out of 10, these people that you're giving these gifts to, unless they're really, really close to you, good friends, close friends and family, you're not going to get the same back in return. So just kind of be mindful of the way that you are spending. I don't spend that much on Christmas at all, because my family members are older, so I don't have to spend that much money on Christmas. And so it kind of works out differently for me. But again, when it comes to the complaining spirit, if you're going to complain about it in the month of January, when you get your credit card statement, or when you see that your savings is depleted, you have nobody to complain to but yourself, because you allowed it to happen. You don't have to go broke for these folks, because some of these folks will never go broke on you. They probably won't even spend their last 2 cents on you. And so that is it for today, you guys. Just want you to make a conscious decision to take today and just not complain about your finances. Instead, just be grateful for wherever you are in your journey. Just give thanks to God for wherever He has brought you to. If you are stagnant right now, and stagnant for me means for me, I'm paying off a credit card. So I'm stagnant. Like I'm putting everything extra to a credit card so that I can pay it off. That means right now I'm kind of stagnant. Once I pay that one off, then I could go to the next one. So I'm going to be stagnant and paying off my bills for just probably the next I would say 3 or 4 months. Hopefully it won't be that long, but I've hit a snail's pace because I've paid off the debts that were not high. And so now I'm hitting my credit card. So I'm kind of stagnant just for a little bit because I have to pay on these things versus just paying them off. So when I say stagnant, it doesn't mean that I'm not doing it. I'm just paying on. I can't, just I could if I really wanted to. I could have you know, like I said, took a hit on my 401k, but I'm just not willing to do that. I'm just not willing to do that. So I will just do things the old fashioned way. But that is it, you guys. I am hopping off, and you guys have a blessed Tuesday. I will see you guys tomorrow for day 19. Again, no grumbling, no complaining, or at least try not to. It's going to be hard, especially this time of year when you go into the store and the prices of things is ridiculous. I know I can't remember what store I was in. But the price, I can't remember what I was buying. This was just a couple of days ago. Oh, I don't typically drink. I'm from Baltimore, you guys. I live in Virginia, but I'm from Baltimore, so we say soda. I went to go buy some Sunkist Zeros because I drink more water and flavored water, but I went to go buy a case of Sunkist Zero, and the Sunkist Zero was like $12. $12, like the long case of Sunkist Zero. I stood there in Food Lion looking at the price, and the price was $12 for a case of Sunkist Zero. And again, I am not a soda drinker like that. I do drink one with my dinner because pretty much all day I'm drinking water. I drink herbal tea in the morning, but pretty much the rest of the day I'm drinking either regular water. Most of the time I'm drinking spring water, but I may have like one of those nice flavored waters or a Propel or something, throughout the day. And so sometimes at night when I'm having dinner, I like to just give myself a little bit of something to drink besides water and tea. I could not believe the price of Sunkist Zero. $12. And so the lady was like, well, that's $12, but if you buy this brand, you get buy one, get one free. That ain't make no difference because that case was $10. The only offset was if I got one case, I got the other case for free. But it was still $10. And I'm like, I don't even drink soda like that to even want to buy 2 cases. Like literally the 2 cases is probably going to sit until like April or May of next year because that's how often I may drink a soda today and tomorrow and might not drink another one for the next 2 weeks. I'm like, I was just stuck at the price. So for those of us who are watching our pockets, I was out. And this is how it shocked me because again, I don't typically shop down this aisle. I don't shop down the soda aisle. I don't go down that aisle that has the soda on one side and the chips on. I don't go down those aisles. Typically, I'm shopping on the outside. I only go down the aisle towards the end because my son plays sports and he drinks Gatorades. So I do get the Powerades and Gatorades for him. But that's the extent. And those are even getting higher. And I'm like, $12 for a case of Sunkist Zero. Nonetheless, I bought it because I wanted an orange soda and I just was Sunkist Zero. But I'm just saying, I stood there and yes, I complained. Me and the lady were talking. We had our gripe session for that, those few minutes that we were standing there. But I was sticker shocked. I really was because it's been a very long time since I purchased a case of soda like that. And to be honest with you, if I was to go get soda now, I would have gone to my mom's house to get it because she drinks a lot of soda. But I was just sticker shock. But anyway, that was just off topic. I was just off topic. It was just a random, when I was thinking about the gripe session I recently had. That was the last gripe session that I had, was the price of the soda. And I could not believe it. And I told the lady in the store, I said, unfortunately, my mom passed away unexpectedly last year. So if I wanted any type of soda, all I had to do was go to her house and grab a couple cans and take her back to my house, because she was a big Sam shopper. So she would constantly buy in bulk. So I would go there and shop for whatever I wanted to drink. But now that she's gone, I don't have that, that luxury anymore. And that's why I was probably also so sticker shock, because I'm like, if this is just for a case, I can't imagine how much she was paying for the bigger cases over at Sam's, because I know a lot of times she was a Sam shopper. So that, I'm sorry guys, that was just randomly topic, but I was just sticker shock. But I am hopping off, you guys. I'll see you guys for day 19 tomorrow. And yeah, that is it. That was just my rant. I couldn't believe the price of a 16 thingy. I guess it's 16 thingies of soda. But that's it, you guys. I'm hopping off. See you tomorrow for day 19 of the gratitude challenge. Your challenge today is no complaining. No complaining. No complaining. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.